Good morning, afternoon, or evening. How y'all doing today? Welcome back to Mr. Morrow's intensive math class. Today we're going to continue with customary units of measurements, and we're going to talk about capacity or volume. Sometimes a lot of people don't understand what volume is, and volume is the amount of space that an object takes up. For example, when you pour a glass of water, that's involving capacity or volume, okay? And this one has a few different conversions. So please remember, we've got to memorize all these conversions. So far we've learned distance, weight, and today we're learning capacity or volume. And the first one we're going to talk about is 8 fluid ounces. Fluid ounces are different than dry ounces. There are 16 ounces in a pound. Those are dry ounces. We're talking about fluid ounces. There's 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. So when you drink a cup of water, that is 8 fluid ounces. There are 2 cups in 1 pint. And actually, pint should be PT. So I apologize about that. Let's go ahead and fix that right quick. Pint should be PT. And quart should also be QT. So I apologize about that. So 2 cups in a pint. So if you think about it, if there's 2 cups in a pint and there's 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup, how many fluid ounces in 1 pint? Very good. So that means that there are 16 fluid ounces in 1 pint. Okay. There are 2 pints in a quart. So if there are 2 pints in a quart, how many fluid ounces in a quart? This is important to know. 32. Very good. 32 fluid ounces in a quart. Please write all this down, guys, because this is going to come back and either help you or haunt you later. And there's 4 quarts in a gallon. So if there's 4 quarts in a gallon and there's 32 fluid ounces in a quart, how many ounces, fluid ounces, are there in 1 gallon? If you think about it, guys, I'm going from small to large, so I multiply. So 4 times 32, that would be 128 fluid ounces in 1 gallon. Now, all of these conversions that I made in red, you can all do those on your own. It's just good to understand how and why they relate. Remember that when we're converting from one unit of measurement to another, you must remember the following. This is the 3rd time that we have discussed this. So I really need you to memorize this and learn it. That's why I repeat it 3 times. Not to be a pain, but to be an asset to you, to help you. When you're going from small to large, you divide. When I'm going from large units to small units, you multiply. So again, there's 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. There are 2 cups in 1 pint. There are 2 pints in 1 quart, and there are 4 quarts in a gallon. How does this relate to fluid ounces? Well, since there are 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup, and there's 2 cups in a pint, 2 times 8 would be 16 fluid ounces in 1 pint. Since there are 2 pints in a quart, and there's 16 fluid ounces in 1 pint, that means that there are 32 fluid ounces in 1 quart. And since there are 4 quarts in a gallon, and there are 32 fluid ounces in 1 quart, that means that there are 128 fluid ounces in 1 gallon. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Now, the good news, once you memorize all these conversions, weight, distance, capacity, or volume, the procedures stay the same. The borrowing stays the same. The carrying over stays the same. The skills are the same. There's just different units attached to it. For example, gentlemen, 3 gallons, 4 quarts, okay? 3 gallons, 4 quarts, plus 6 gallons, 5 quarts. What is that going to equal? Well, I'm going to add my 6 gallons, 5 quarts here. I'm going to add, so there's 9 quarts and 9 gallons. However, how many quarts in a gallon? 4 quarts in a gallon. So I can take away I can take away 8 quarts. And 8 quarts would be like adding 2 gallons. So this is going to really end up being 11 gallons and 1 quart. Again, this procedure that I just did is not a foreign procedure. We have already done this with weight and with distance. It's just simplifying. Okay? Does that make sense, gentlemen? Talk to me. Okay, thank you very much. Aren't there 4 quarts in 1 gallon, sir? 4 times 2 is 8, correct? So I took away 8 quarts, and 8 quarts equals 2 gallons. So I added 2 gallons. I took away 8 quarts, which is adding 2 gallons. 9 plus 2 is 11 gallons. 9 quarts minus 8 quarts is 1 quart left over. Thank you so much for your honesty, my brother. That is awesome. Thank you. Okay, number 2. 6 quarts, 3 ounces minus 2 quarts, 6 ounces. Again, this is not uncommon to us by now. Can I take 6 ounces away from 3 ounces? And these are fluid ounces, of course. So, what do I have to do here? I have to borrow a quart, right? So I'm left with 5 quarts. Now, how many fluid ounces in 1 quart, guys? 32. So I'm going to add 32 fluid ounces. So I've really got now 35 fluid ounces. So that's going to give me 3 quarts and 29 fluid ounces. I should actually put, let me put the fluid ounces. That's why it's important to know this conversion right here, these conversions. It's going to be very helpful for you. That's why I very kindly asked you to write it down. Okay? So for number 2, again, we just borrowed. But you had to know how many fluid ounces were in 1 quart. And there were 32 fluid ounces in 1 quart. So I borrowed a quart, added 32 ounces to the 3 ounces that was given, giving me 35 ounces. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Are you sure, gentlemen? Okay, thank you, my brothers. Okay, number 3, I'm sorry. 12 quarts, 3 pints times 3. Well, got to multiply. So that's 36 quarts, 9 pints. Okay, now, how many pints in 1 quart? How many pints in 1 quart? 2 pints. So I can take away 8 pints here. And what does 8 points add as quarts? 4 quarts. So I've got 40 quarts and 1 pint left over. Remember, my brothers, there are 2 pints in 1 quart. So I can take away 8 pints from 9. How many quarts would that be? That'd be 4 quarts. So 36 plus 4 quarts is 40 quarts and 1 pint. Again, this skill is not new to us. This skill has already been used and seen. Please make sure you write these down, my brothers. can't learn if you don't write it down and practice, please. And thank you. Okay, number 4. 14 gallons, 5 quarts, 2 ounces divided by 3. So we're going to put a 3 on the outside here. We got 14 gallons, 5 quarts, 2 ounces. 3 goes into 14 4 times, 4 gallons. 3 times 4 is 12. So I'm left with 2 gallons. But I'm going to go ahead and take those gallons and turn them into quarts. How many quarts in 1 gallon? So how many quarts in 2 gallons? Okay, so that becomes 8, which then I have 13 quarts. 3 divided by 13, that goes in 4 quarts times. So that's 12. So I'm left with 1 quart. How many fluid ounces, gentlemen, in 1 quart? 32. So I'm going to take that quart and add 32 ounces instead of it, giving me 34 ounces. How many times does 3 go into 34? No, not 12. 11 times. However, check this out. This is where some of you get lost, so let's make sure we got this perfectly. We got 33, right? But you got 1 left over here, right? So that's 11 and 1/3 ounce. That's my remainder. That makes sense, my brother. If I wanted that in decimal, it'd be 11.33 repeating, but it's better to leave it in fraction form. So again, when you're dividing, make sure you carry over the leftovers until the end. At the end, any remainder that I have becomes a mixed number. Please, guys, does that make sense? This is the goal of my job, to make sure you understand this. You promise me. Okay. May I continue? Okay. Thank you, my brothers. Number 5. 8.5 pints equals how many fluid ounces? Okay. Am I going from large to small or small to large? Large to small. So I multiply or divide? Multiply. Let's see if you remember from what we talked about. How many fluid ounces in 1 pint? 16 fluid ounces. Very good. So 16 times 8.5. Very good, gentlemen. 0, 3, that's 8. That's 8. 4, 8 plus 4 is 12. 0, 6, 1, 3, 1. 1 decimal to the left. So that would be 136 fluid ounces. Remember, my brothers, large to small, multiply. Small to large, divide. How about here, gentlemen? I've got 20 gallons. How many pints does that equal? Am I going large to small or small to large? Large to small, so I multiply or divide. How many pints in a gallon? Now this one's pretty weird, because you're like, wait, there's no relationship between pints and gallons. This is where this guy gets a little bit difficult. Yes, this one gets a little bit difficult. Pay attention. You know that there are 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. 2 cups in 1 pint. 2 pints in 1 quart. 4 quarts in 1 gallon. This is where the units of capacity get a little complicated. There's no direct relationship between pints and gallons, are there? However, how many quarts are there in a gallon? How many pints are in a quart? So how many pints in a gallon? 8. So 8 times 20 would be 160 pints. My brothers, does that make sense? Again, there were 2 pints in 1 quart. So if there's 4 quarts in a gallon, 4 times 2, that means there's 8 pints in 1 gallon. This is where it gets difficult. More difficult than the weight or the distance. So please, you've got to memorize that basic one, and you have to be able to manipulate. Does that make sense, gentlemen? You promise, my brothers. Okay. How about this? Let's do another extra one. How about 9 gallons, 4 quarts equals how many quarts? Okay. I gotta convert this 9 gallons into quarts. Alrighty, sorry about that, guys. So, I want to go from gallons to quarts. Alright? So, how many quarts in a gallon? 4 quarts. So, I'm going from gallons to quarts, so I multiply or divide? I'm going large to small. Multiply. So, times 4. So, that's 36 quarts plus 4 quarts. So, that equals 40 quarts in total. How about 48 pints to gallons? Okay. Am I going large to small or small to large? Guys, pints to gallons. Large to small or small to large? Small to large, so I multiply or divide? Divide. What did we just establish in the last frame? How many pints in a gallon? 8. So I'm going to divide by 8, so that would be 6 gallons. 48 pints is the same thing as 6 gallons. Does that make sense, my brothers? Promise. Any questions on this? Okay. Thank you very much. I hope you learned a lot, and have a wonderful day.